Fist bump. Okay, I want to start with a question.
What?
Have you ever seen a headstone with the words, "If only I had spent more time at work"? That's a line that's been in my head from a Billy Ray Cyrus country song, and to which you would respond, how?
No, of course not. But the fact is, all of us have tasks or work each day, the inescapable, mundane stuff of life we deal with every day, right?
Yeah. I feel like I should be taking more advantage of what this chair has to offer.
I'll go to sleep if I do that.
No, okay, so,
Yeah.
but anyway, you're right. And one of the young people here in our community was asking us that question the other day, just sort of, what do you do when life just becomes frankly boring?
It's such a great question. How do we find meaning in the mundane?
I want to go with joy among the generic.
Better alliteration. Since it's something that everyone deals with, not just people who live like we do. And I guess even people who have independent wealth or means have to do mundane tasks as well.
Yes.
So.
Open yet another tin of caviar. Yes. Must be trying. Anyway, Jordan Peterson has something to say about this, and I think he's right on point when he says that life isn't just margaritas on a beach in Jamaica.
Or Byron Bay.
If he was Australian, he'd go with Byron. Okay, anyway, life ain't all a beach. We know that, right?
Yeah.
And sure, those margaritas do come along, and they're great. We can look forward to them. But Peterson talks about the fact that 80% of our life is just the mundane stuff. Yeah. But he goes on to say that that's what we should be concentrating on getting right. Mm-hmm. We should work at making the mundane pristine, he says.
Pristine?
Pristine.
Wow.
It's like, had we ever had a girl, we would have called her that, right? I mean, what a great name.
But how do we get from the mundane to the pristine?
Well, one thought we had was that we could take a bit of a journalistic approach to this, and we could break it down by looking at the who, what, why, when, where, how sort of angles of this.
But let's start with the order, like what and when.
Okay, we'll go with what and when.
Okay, so one way that we both try to tackle the mundane is to be fully present and to focus on what we're doing and the moment we're doing it in.
Always sounds so good when you say it.
I know, but we try.
We try.
To give our best effort for no other reason than giving our best effort. And in other words, to sort of try to practice mindfulness. Mm-hmm. And the Zen Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh, who just passed away this last weekend, he said many people are alive, but just don't touch the miracle of being alive.
Yeah.
And I love how he puts that because it's really true.
Another way he expressed it was that around us, life is just full of miracles. And he talks about caterpillars, rays of sunshine, leaves, just every little thing. Laughter is a miracle.
And the miracles are always there. They're always around us. And no, we're not Zen Buddhists, and we do not profess to have reached any sort of enlightenment. But the concept of mindful living and being grounded in the moment, it's actually, it's a gift we can all benefit from.
Yeah.
And Jesus, of course, talks about it so powerfully in the Sermon on the Mount and all of his teachings.
Yeah, and the gospel is full of reminders to look at the lilies, to remember the birds, you know, to focus on what's right in front of us and then apply that. Yeah. Great, so let's go from that right to the how. Mm-hmm. How should we go at our work? How should we approach the boring bits of our lives? Mm-hmm. And so one way that we also tried to distill that, to make some sense out of that, is that we want our work to be worship. Yeah. Work is worship.
I love that concept that work is worship. And the poet Khalil Gibran says it so beautifully. He says, work is love made visible. And if you can't work with love, but only with distaste, it's better that you should leave your work and sit at the gate of the temple and take alms of those who work with joy. I love that.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, I don't know. For if you bake bread with indifference, you bake a bitter bread that feeds but half a man's hunger. Good stuff.
There's a thought. Like, so to bake with indifference, you're still getting it done. You're feeding people, but there's no love in it. That's amazing. Yeah. Good. Well, we're going to stick with poets, and I'm going to chuck out something from Gerard Manley Hopkins.
You love this one.
I do. Well, and I also love the fact, I mean, he was one of the best Victorians to ever walk the planet. You know, something good had to come out of that time period. And, well, I mean, I suppose your grandparents have their roots there. So moving right along. We had to move because the camera got too hot. I've never had that happen before.
I know, and we've... Yeah, well,
so,
it's very muggy Australia.
It is. I mean, I'm also getting a little too hot, but let's not focus on it. The good news is Bear has joined us.
Yeah.
Muddy dog, come here.
He's very muddy.
Come here, buddy.
Wave your little paw.
Say
hi.
Say hi, friend. I got myself muddy. I'm a muddy buddy. All right, here we go. You just
Yeah.
talked to us about Khalil Gibran, and I said nasty things about Victorians.
I know, but get to your point, which was to share a wonderful piece from Gerard Manley Hopkins,
Thank
which
you.
we both love.
It is not only prayer that gives God glory, but work. Smiting on an anvil, sawing a beam, whitewashing a wall, driving horses, sweeping, scouring, everything gives God some glory if, being in His grace, you do it as your duty. To lift up the hands in prayer gives God glory, but a man with a dung fork in his hands, a woman with a slop pail give Him glory too.
Gee, thanks.
He's so great that everything, all things give Him glory if you mean they should.
That's the key. If we mean
If
they
they
should.
mean they, if you mean they should.
Yeah.
If you mean they should.
should.
That's an awesome construct.
Yeah. So it's a matter of the heart, not necessarily the hand.
It is, and there's so much of a challenge in that because, you know, when you're hauling figurative slop pails around in the day,
Or the odd dung fork.
how
Yeah.
often are we actually turning our hearts toward God in worship? We can but try.
Let's move on to the why. Why do
Please.
we work?
Why do we work? I don't know.
And how does that connect with vision?
Yeah, well, so obviously if we do see our work as worship, then there has to be an object of that worship.
Yeah, and for us living in Christian community, we're not just simply working to get things done or keep things running. We live and work together because we're motivated by faith and to put that faith into action. I guess it's a way for us to try to help realize and give a glimpse into God's kingdom here and now on the earth.
That's the point, right? I
Yeah,
mean, that's why
yeah.
that's the big
The big
macro
goal,
thing,
yeah,
right?
and we want that vision to inform our work.
And to share it with others where we can.
Yes, and that's
Yeah.
the best part.
So to the point of vision, we both grew up hearing this old chestnut. A guy's going on a journey and he passes 3 stonecutters, each working at quarrying rock. And he says to them, "What are you guys doing?" And the first one doesn't even stop whacking away at the rock. He just says, "I'm earning a living." The next guy stops hammering long enough to tell him, "I am the best stonecutter in the country. I'm getting better at my job all the time." The third one, though, puts down his tools, beams at the man with a consummate look of vision, and says, "I'm building a cathedral to the glory of God." And so that's the choice that you and I have every day,
we can
right?
hammer at stones or we can build cathedrals. It's up to us. And it's that central question. That's the why. If we keep vision and why we're doing something, then it doesn't matter what we do or don't do for work. What we do doesn't define us.
Absolutely.
And that's certainly one of the gifts of living in community, that as brothers and sisters, we're valued simply for being ourselves. And it's not important what degree someone holds or their capabilities. Everyone can contribute with compassion, empathy, love, support, grace, kindness, time. Right?
Don't look at me. Sounds great. Yeah. Okay, and that brings us to who, right?
Yeah.
Who meaning the people.
People, yeah.
The people that are right alongside of us in our home, in our work, at our places of worship, in our communities, the people that we do the mundane parts of life with.
And to say most of us, even if we work alone, interact in some way with some people, at least one person every day. And one thing you and I try to do and remind ourselves about is that every single day we can find at least one person to encourage or to lighten their load or lighten their burden in some way. And that's much easier done with strangers than the people in our own home. So
start in your own home.
Start in your own home, and
that's where pristine begins.
And we've talked about the who, what, the why, the how, the when, the mindfulness, vision, work as worship.
Lightening each other's load.
It's all good stuff.
It's very good stuff. And of course, it's easier said than done.
Yes, so true. And that's why for us, we find it really important to begin every day in prayer.
Yeah, it's the only way to start a new day.
Yeah, to consecrate the entire day in front of us to God and to ask for help so that the work of mind and hand and heart and all our interactions, whether with others, are guided by a higher power and a good spirit.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah.
So, and then once we've done that, well, there's nothing for it. It's time to get on and go about our work. And fortunately, also, we can do that with humor and ask each other for forgiveness.
Ask ourselves for forgiveness.
Yeah, and just keep at it. I mean, that's the whole shtick, isn't it? That's this path that we're on. So, guys, what do you think about this? Does any of this ring true? Or do you guys have other suggestions for how each of us can work to live a joy-filled life? Because that's really what we're after, right?
What's your secret to making the mundane pristine?
Pristine, yes.
Well, we love hearing from you. And thanks so much for joining with us on another conversation.
Yeah, thank you very much, and we'll connect again very soon.
Talk soon.
Bye, bye, Miss America. Run along.
He's been running around with us.